Prologue. December 26, 1941, Washington, D.C. Early evening. Secret Service agent Harry E. Neal stood alone on the platform at Union Station and watched the train disappear into the darkness. It was 6:50 p.m., and the temperature had slipped into the 30s. For the first time in 2 days, he breathed a little easier. He wouldn't relax fully until the Baltimore and Ohio National Limited reached its final destination the following morning. But the fact that the train was leaving Washington, D.C., carrying its cargo, accompanied by 2 of his finest agents, was a promising milestone in this mission. Japan had bombed Pearl Harbor 3 weeks earlier, and since then, fears of a German or Japanese attack on Washington, D.C. had sent American officials scrambling in all directions to prevent the potential destruction of their capital city and everything located within its borders. The Germans had overrun continental Europe, trained their sights on England, and, after Pearl Harbor, declared war on the United States. The Japanese had ravaged China and Southeast Asia, attacked the Philippines, and only days later decimated the U.S. Pacific Fleet at Hawaii. And just hours ago, as if to remind Americans that nothing was the same, Britain's Prime Minister, Winston Churchill, had addressed a joint session of the U.S. Congress, historic both because it was unprecedented and for the magnitude of his message. Twice in a single generation, Churchill had reminded Congress, the catastrophe of world war has fallen upon us. Do we not owe it to ourselves, to our children, to mankind tormented, to make sure that these catastrophes shall not engulf us for the 3rd time? Harry Neal and his colleagues had rested little since Pearl Harbor. They had collaborated with military and civilian agencies to implement new protocols and procedures to protect the president, safeguard the White House, and defend Washington. Neal had been involved in most of these discussions, including this latest plan orchestrated by the Library of Congress, the logistics of which had only been solidified the day before, on Christmas afternoon. As the public spectacle of Churchill on Capitol Hill consumed Washington's attention, Neal had begun his day with a confidential meeting at the Library of Congress with the librarian Archibald MacLeish and his assistant librarian Verner W. Clapp, to review the plan to relocate the library's most precious possessions to a secure, inland, bomb-proof facility. After the meeting, Neal, a perfectionist, double-checked everything, driving 3 different routes between the Library of Congress and Union Station to determine the safest for the conveyance of the packages to the train depot, ensuring that the armored truck that carried the material from the Library of Congress to Union Station was properly guarded and escorted, designating a contingent of armed agents to accompany the baggage cart from the Union Station storage room directly to the train, and confirming that a second cadre of armed agents would meet the train upon its arrival to take custody of the cargo and transfer it to its final secure destination. After blocking the public's access to this track, Neal had insisted on accompanying the 4 plane-wrapped cases onto the train, supervising their placement into compartment B in car A1 and reviewing the upcoming elements of the plan with his agents and with Clapp, who would travel with the Library of Congress packages. Somehow, it had all proceeded without apparently attracting the attention of the uneasy throngs that flooded the rest of Union Station on this day after Pearl Harbor Christmas. If it had been up to Neal, he would have accompanied the documents on their overnight rail journey, but his Secret Service chief ordered him to remain in Washington, where he could be more valuable should other crises arise. With the train en route, Harry Neal left Union Station and returned to his office in the Treasury Building to provide a telephone update to Archibald MacLeish, who had insisted on a report as soon as the train had departed Washington. Neal spotted the envelope that had been delivered earlier by messenger, and before he called MacLeish, he read the brief 1-page memo from Clapp, dated December 26, 1941, on Library of Congress letterhead. The following is an itemization of the materials, the memo began. Later in his life, following a long and storied career with the Secret Service, Harry Neal would describe Clapp's memo as one of his prized possessions. On this evening, December 26, 1941, with the special packages on their way out of Washington.